Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh roasts a laid-off Washington Post writer whose job was to cover the health disparities and explore the way racism and social inequality affects healthcare. New York City Mayor Zohran visits a man in the hospital who charged at a police officer with a knife and was then shot. General Motors heavy-duty trucks will in fact keep the Allison Transmission branding after all, and an outdoor chair gets recalled. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special preference in IT security. Heck, see the founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. He's me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny real adapters to go out to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting Flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have General Motors announcing their heavy-duty pickup trucks will in fact keep the Allison Transmission branding after all, though there's nothing Allison about it. Now, this brought to us thanks to Caleb Jacobs over at thedrive.com. And he notes, quote, General Motors and Allison Transmission endured a brief public stunt, but now they've reached a new licensing agreement. They can keep that stupid little plaque right on your truck out there. It says Allison Transmission, Duramax, which, spoiler, they've not been Allison Transmissions for a couple years. It's been an in-house developed 10-speed automatic transmission, which is unreliable and, well, soulless because, automatic transmission. Again, credit to Caleb Jacobs. They say, quote, I wrote back in November that General Motors and Allison Transmission were set in parting ways after decades of collaboration. The two couldn't agree on the renewed licensing deal, so Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra heavy pickup truck models stopped carrying the brands altogether after December 31st, 2025. They actually had to have some dealers apparently rip them off the trucks in some cases. He says, quote, I'm here now to report that such is no longer the case. You'll soon see the familiar badge again following a fresh agreement between the manufacturers. If you're wondering what the difference is that make the terms of the truck's hardware, the answer is nada. Allison has not built transmissions for General Motors since the automaker switched to the, talk about uninspiring name, 10L1000 in model year 2020. Practically all of Allison's involvement in the past 6 years have been marketing related, and it's lent its name to General Motors hardware for a set amount of money, which I would not do because it's a General Motors product, and, well, there's a high propensity it'll be at the side of the road or in the mechanic shop a disproportionate amount of the truck's lifespan. Now, this is from General Spokesman saying, quote, soon the Allison Transmission badge will be reintroduced to the production of 2026 model year Chevy and GMC heavy-duty trucks. As you know, GM and Allison have a long history of working together to develop tough, dependable transmissions, which, I'm going to stop it right there. Yeah, you did years ago. Again, last year was 2020. Before that, yes, decades and decades and decades of collaboration. Let's just straight up licensing deal. It's just putting putting lipstick on a pig, which of all the times that example has been used for a General Motors product, perhaps is most apt. Now, they continue saying, quote, this agreement, I'm trying not to laugh. This agreement will reinforce to customers that Chevy and GMC HD trucks are equipped with trusted Allison branded 10-1000L 10-speed transmissions that deliver performance, quality, and a durable customer experience, which I don't think anyone has ever said about General Motors product, even the people who work there. This guy's got to be inebriated. Now, they say, quote, Allison developed a mighty reputation among heavy-duty pickup truck buyers throughout the 2000s and 2010s. In fact, drivers who were less than enthused with GM's independent front suspension from the 2500 and 3500 trucks were still willing to deal with it so long as they got a bulletproof transmission, which, again, they will no longer get anymore. Diesel trucks with the LB7, LBZ, LLY, LMM, LML, and L5P Gen 1 Duramax engines got a true Allison-designed and Allison-built unit, while the LP5 Gen 2 trucks have been shipped exclusively with a GM-designed with Allison branded. This is an interesting development on the 10L1000 saga. The truck record is less than stellar, with owners reportedly have valve body failures that left them without a truck for long months. The buzz surrounding the problems has died down in recent months, so here's hoping Allison and GM get a fresh start for the sake of truck owners, they say, which, again, if they're actually making the transmissions, then yeah, I think this would be a good hurrah. I mean, this is no different than Disney doing one of those stupid marketing deals, like, oddly enough, what is it, the stupid Clementine manufacturers? Well, farmers and the growers where they put Star Wars on that crap so kids will buy it. It's like Disney is making oranges in Florida. They employ a lot of fruits, but they're not making oranges on farms. And this is an instance where it is just branding and marketing. They're just GM is just cutting them a check to put that stupid logo on the top of the trucks. Now, the real question is the average customer smart enough to realize it's not really an Allison Transmission, or do they not care and they just like that little extra piece of placard glued onto the truck? Although, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that you use some nice 3M double-sided adhesive tape for that type of application. But again, it's if I was Allison, I would say hell no, because again, GM and lack reliability. I wouldn't want that to trickle over to the actual production Allison transmissions, which do very well exist, just not in these trucks. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, it'd be fascinating to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the cultural part of the podcast, you have Matt Walsh roasting a Washington Post reporter who just lost her job, who covered the most ridiculous things ever. Now, this is the original report from the Washington Post, who, interestingly enough, only had, what was it, a couple thousand subscribers? 7,980 and 78 subscribers. Yeah. She, her pronouns, of course. African-American woman in this case. And this is her post. In 2021, I was hired by the Washington Post to cover the health disparities and explore the way racism and social inequality affects health. 4 months ago, I became the Generations reporter, exploring how health is experienced by different people across the course of life. Today, I was laid off. People spelled PPLE. I don't know if that's hip or if that's because of the Twitter character limit. And of course, she's a radical, mentally vacuous leftist because there's a big sign, it's a big sign right here. Who can reply? Only accounts that she mentioned. Interesting. So now, someone who does not like freedom of speech, she's leftist. She did get 1.2 million views and 1.7 thousand subscribers. Now, the first comments before she disabled them comes from Guy Incognito saying, quote, if you're looking for a reason of why you're laid off, you just read it or said it. 6.6 thousand likes. Again, her topic, as mentally vacuous as it is, I don't think it's financially viable. Well, except for, the government slush fund and having, our tax dollars pay for it. I have friends who pay for a myriad of publications and read things on the left, on the right, in the middle. Even my left-leaning friends, no one wants to pay to read that crap. That's the market of people who would read that is small. Who would pay for it is even smaller, or has the ability to pay would be another factor. You also have Twas Brilling says, quote, sounds like a pointless job, so it makes sense they got rid of it. Getting 4.2 thousand likes. Brett says, quote, start a Substack subscription and see how many people are willing to pay to read your work. Not many. Getting 2.8 thousand likes. Beer Nerd says, I can't figure out why they're losing $100 million a year. Getting 2.7 thousand likes. Cattle Mutt, and this gal's getting ratioed, says, do a podcast and show everyone how brilliant and insightful your reporting is. Getting 398 likes. Lou Perez says, time to explore the way racism affects layoffs. Getting 2.2 thousand likes. Scarlett says, quote, is this a parody? I swear I thought it was and forwarded it to a friend as such, but then I looked at the bio. Getting 1.1 thousand likes. Sun Chaser says, racism and inequality, therein lies the problem. Grow the F up. Getting 833 likes. Just Posting L says, too long didn't read. Social inequality. Getting 625 likes. Nurse Speak the Emperor says, the Emperor is wearing no clothing. Long profile name, but descriptive. Says, quote, curious, did any of your reporting include health disparities in Appalachia, or is it just your own skin color? Healthcare was so much better before all of this social justice permeated the system. Getting 2,000 likes. Virginia Cottage says, quote, health disparities, what does that even mean? Getting 535 likes. Wheat Renovator says, quote, me running for a profile, see if it's a parody account. Astonishing, getting 539 likes. Now, Matt Walsh responded to this with a parody saying, quote, I was hired by the Washington Post in 2019 to cover the way racism in the healthcare industry impacts gay Aborigine midgets with cardiovascular diseases. Today, I was laid off. I worked incredibly hard over the past 7 years to produce no less than 4 articles on this important subject. I was only paid $650,000 a year for my tireless efforts. Now I'm out of a job. I can't believe this is happening to me. Getting 846,000 views and 33,000 likes. Which, I was going to say, how many likes did she get again? This should be a good example of, why no one's going to pay for her crap. She got 1.2 million people. 1.2, well, maybe some bots and people. Okay, so maybe some bots. But 1.2 million views, only 1.7 thousand people liked her. Statistically speaking, that is a worse like ratio than some of my show, which is saying something. Now, again, Matt Walsh got about 850,000 views and 33,000 likes. One of his comments comes to us thanks to JC Meme Team, though not really a meme, it's more of an AI image. Yes, yeah, gay Aborigines in front of hospital AI getting 406 likes. Tyson Clark says, gay Aboriginal little people, no wonder you were let go, getting 642 likes. William Mungie has a picture of the Simpsons meme where you have the bus driver says, don't make me point at the sign. And the sign is a tweet from Oran Macaulay. Says, quote, you don't hate journalists enough. You think you do, but you don't. Getting 61 likes. Also have Anthony Galil says, don't forget this gem. What would we do about the Washington Post besides get closer to the truth? There's a too small. The publication date is blurred, but it says Tom Cotton keeps repeating coronavirus conspiracy theory that was already debunked. Getting 485 likes. Going down more and more. Argo Scribe says, Mr. Walsh, you never met me, but it was my job at the Washington Post to find synonyms for pounce. Every time journalism wrote conservatives pounce, my job was vital to democracy, which I truly believe is dying in darkness, getting 728 likes. Now, this is a very outlandish comment, so cover your ears if you have children listening. Some Talking Head says, gay Aborigine midgets sounds like a category of Jewish porn sites, getting 30 likes. Let's see here. Jason Primo says, quote, sorry to hear that. Maybe become an independent journalist and pivot back into the Ice Age doomer narrative. There's an Ice Age article from, well, what year is that? 1991, getting 111 likes. The silent majority, as the meme from The Office, the Washington Post goes, yeah, if the new National Enquirer as far as fake news, Washington Post is a new National Enquirer as far as fake news goes, getting 80 likes. RC has a picture of Elon. It says, I can't tell when you guys are trolling or when you're not, getting 25 likes. Thanos simply says, stunning and brave, getting 10 likes. Fudgy the Whale says, you were grossly underpaid. I'd sue, getting 14 likes. Trump Patriot New York says, quote, what am I going to do with my master's in post-colonial queer Marxist poetry theory in BIPOC and trans indigenous communities now? Getting 10 likes, which obviously get a job at a public university or Starbucks. I think those are the top areas where they usually find employment. Let's see here. Also, Andy says, quote, and then you get a job at the Daily Wire. Ooh, contrary statement. He says, quote, and then you get a job at the Daily Wire working two down from the devil. You'll be fine. I don't know why that was very clumsy of me to read. 2 doors down is kind of a cliche saying. I know that saying. Again, camera brain farts is a thing. It got 18 likes. Coal Miner says, I can't believe this is happening to you. We will give the gay Aboriginal midgets with cardiovascular disease a voice now. Getting 14 likes. Texas Bulldog says, I especially liked your article that explained how being tall is a white supremacy against midgets. Getting 69 likes. Socrates the Chud says, quote, today I learned my former Washington Post colleague, Matt Walsh, was paid $650,000 per year for a mere 4 articles over 7 years, whereas I, as a disabled black trans woman with one eye, was only paid $600,000 per year for a total of 9 articles. This discrimination is aberrant, getting 221 likes. Let's see. Heartland Gump says, the Washington Post started in the news business and it was profitable. Once it left the news business and got into the business of printing Democrat Party propaganda, then it lost money. Take from that you will, getting 402 likes. John Space says, I was laid off the Washington Post today. I was one in charge of finding the picture of the whitest person on the planet to attach to every article written about minority crimes, getting 136 likes. Jared Howell simply says, this is literally genocide, getting 132 likes. Bo French says, I'm sorry for your loss. Surely there's a government assistance for someone in your position and your skills, getting 81 likes. Rick Foss says, I'll never forget your sacrifice. Donald Trump, can we put a statue of Matt Walsh outside the White House or downtown Minneapolis to represent his struggles? Which there's his face on the infamous thinking statue, getting 46 likes. Gypsy simply says, speaking as a gay Aborigine midget with cardio disease, this is hitting hard and you will be missed, getting 79 likes. And I do wonder, how much is this because USAID is gone? How many of these, we saw a lot of legacy media crumbling and this is just accelerating that. I do wonder how many of them were propped up with type of government funds, but let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have New York City Mayor Zohran visiting someone who attacked a police officer instead of the police officer. That makes about sense. Now, Spark Toys thanks to and wokeness. And he says, quote, Mayor Mamdani just visited a man who was shot while charging at a police officer with a knife, which this is the age-old, was it Confucius who said, you don't take a knife to a gunfight? Okay, it wasn't really that philosopher. But I mean, that's a cliche as old as time, and yet this person did not realize that you do not do that. Here's Zohran, as well as juxtapositioned with the body cam image or video.
And as you said, I spoke with the Chakraborty family, and I visited Chavez in the hospital. And there is no family should have to endure this kind of pain.
Baba, no! Hey, put the knife down! Put the knife down!
I'm gonna guess that guy holding a knife. Oh, even dumber. So a guy's holding a knife behind his wife, presumably, or girlfriend or sister, who knows. He's gonna push past her. Police officer already has his handgun drawn. So you have a police officer pointing a gun at you, and you think, I'm gonna get closer with a knife. Yeah.
Put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife! Move! Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
Now the guy is standing at the door, so he closed the door to the police officer, standing at the door with glass. It's a glass door. Yeah, don't throw. Yeah, so he's got a knife behind a glass door versus a police officer with a handgun, presumably a nice 9mm.
Put the knife down!
And the guy opens the door to try to attack the police officer with, again, a knife, which has to be one of the dumbest things someone can do ever. And in terms of, what would Zohran Mamdani do? He visited the guy who tried to stab a police officer, which, yeah, New York City has a brand, as they famously said. Got about 1.9 million views and 23,000 likes as you have more and more crime brewing to the surface. Now, the first comments comes to us thanks to Salty Texan says, WTF, gains 7 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, Mayor Mamdani is rewarding criminals for violent behavior, disgraceful and dangerous, getting 204 likes. Well, come on now. You know what they say, you have to support your voters. Someone by the name of Lambro Claw Champion, maybe, says, bah. There's another body cam footage where, yeah, a gal who the media says was the victim was actually charging the police officer with a knife, with, again, the police officer having a gun pointed at her, getting 889 likes, which, yeah. Turns out all the martyrs are just really stupid or evil, or both. Let's see, Pepita Dobal Morel says trash in other cities is just garbage bags. It says trash in New York is Zohran, getting 1.5 thousand likes. The Angry Lemon, A+ marketing, the profile picture is in fact of a lemon, says, quote, this is evident insane. Charging a cop with a knife gets you sympathy tours from politicians while the officers are demonized. This backwards ass as hell and sends a message to the attacking that attacking police is somehow acceptable in 2.5 thousand likes. Well, yeah, I mean, Zohran famously said he wanted to get rid of the police and replace them with social justice warriors or social workers. He also wants to ban guns and dismantle prisons too. And ramp up taxes and tax white communities, for his words. Or sorry, that was his assistant's words, who he hired. Yeah. New York City is going to be, I didn't think it's possible, but it's going to actually be worse than it already is, which is saying something. It's going to get worse. You also have Daniel Hall says, quote, first we overlook evil, then we permit evil, then we legalize evil, then we promote evil, then we celebrate evil, then we persecute those who still call it evil. And there's a quote from Isaiah 5:28 says, quote, woe unto them who call evil good and good evil, getting 578 likes. Let's see, Nate K says, New York is cooked. There's a famous scientist holding the vial says, finally, pure retardium, getting 393 likes. Alexocius says what? It's a quote from Alexander. I'm sorry, I'm bad with cursive. Silicium says, quote, a communist system can be recognized by the fact that it spares the criminals and criminalizes the political opponent. And 437 likes. Well, thanks to me. Yeah, never forget how much Democrats tried to arrest Donald Trump when he was running. Danforth says Mamdami's off to a good start. It says killed by kindness, 10 frees to death after Mamdani says he won't force homelessness off the streets. 888 likes. Yep. Yelcat as the this is fine meme, but it's a city burning, getting 28 likes as well. Someone has a really awkwardly photoshopped picture. Granted, I don't have much ground to stand on it. I use Microsoft Paint, not to brag. It's Epstein as Darth Vader saying, Zohran, I am your father, getting 31 likes. A lot more pictures of New York City burning to the ground. Also have City Sweeney with the meme that says pathetic, getting 16 likes. Let's see here. A lot of people bring it up. Oh, yeah. Saying Zohran is radical jihad, and they have the face mask that is labeled socialism. You also have, this is Missy in Southern California, Maha Maga, says, quote, the desperate people of New York City are starting to realize that Zohran is hopelessly incapable of delivering what he promised. Lowering rent and free groceries are only two of the many things he fraudulently promised to gain power. 186 likes, and there's a bunch of sheep listening to a wolf at a podium says, once elected, I will become a vegetarian. 186 likes, which, I mean, yeah, he promised a lot of illegal things like take away personal property and having the government control everything. Yeah. I mean, name one thing the government's ever done well. And I don't care who's in office, Republicans or Democrats, they usually fail or make things worse. Like those government-run grocery stores just inevitably burn to the ground. Ryan Vaughn says New York City is after getting 172 likes. Yeah. Yeah, they also want to ramp up taxes on the top 1%, which already pay, was it 49% of all the taxes there? Yeah, they're going to leave. I mean, what is the upside of living in New York City? I've yet to hear a good reason. The Constitutionalist says leftists have the survival instincts of a fart, getting 68 likes. Yeah. Let's see. Lucid says, quote, the optics here are so wild. Elected official visits someone who charged at a cop with a knife, but stays silent when the cop gets ambushed. You can tell exactly who politicians think their voters are by watching who they visit and who they ignore. Good point, getting 418 likes. You also have Humanoid saying, quote, what the hell is he talking about? He needs to listen and say this one out. This violence is the artificial construct. That's a quote from Zohran Mamdani, one of his many popular quotes. Michael Sebastian says, who would want to be a police officer under these conditions, getting 163 likes? Yeah, that's not a good point. Not only does it demoralize police departments and police who currently work there, but I mean, ever since the pandemic, there's been very little incentive to become a police officer, except you're truly altruistic and truly want to help your community. But yeah, I mean, certain places you'll be vilified, demonized, and in some cases you'll be prosecuted, put in jail for doing your job. Anthony Galili says, put down the knife, put down the knife, put down the knife. And Mamdani goes, pick it up, I got you, bro. In 200 likes. See. Behind a painted horse says, quote, he's a liar, a Muslim, Satanist, and a communist. He will destroy you all and smile like a sociopathic demon as he does it. You can't vote away, folks. They only understand one thing. I recommend you respond accordingly, getting 9 likes. And I know what he means. Angry tweets. That's how you get things done in America. That's why Trump does a lot of tweets. Let's see. Egghead says, quote, is this F for real? If this is true, the whole NYPD should call out for the next 2 weeks, getting 10 likes. Yeah, I also have Michael Simpson says Mayor Mamdani is retarded, getting 57 likes. David says New York City voted for this crazy shit, getting 23 likes. Yeah, it's one of those things where you get what you vote for, and I think everyone who's a tax-paying contributor member of society, they're going to leave New York City. Again, especially with the remote work era and businesses leaving in droves. Let me know in the comments. I really can't think of any upside of staying in New York City. Dangerous, high regulated, high expensive. I mean, let me know in the comments. What's one good reason to stay? Let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fasted to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have an outdoor chair being recalled because, whoops, might just bend. Now, this brought to us thanks to the United States Consumer Product Safety Commission, perhaps the only useful government website, though, pretty low bar. And they say, quote, Clark Associates recalls Lancaster table and seating powder-coated aluminum outdoor restaurant chairs and bar stools due to a fall hazard, which they also get an F- for marketing. It's the Lancaster table and seating powder-coated aluminum outdoor. I mean, that is a long descriptive name. Descriptive, yes, but awkward and cumbersome of a name, even more so than mine, which is saying something. Now, the issue with the Lancaster table and seating powder-coated aluminum outdoor chairs and bar stools is the legs of the chairs and the bar stools can bend or break while the chair is in use, thereby posing a fall hazard. Which, in other words, they did not make these American enough because, again, we're the fattest country on the damn planet. So we're so fat that these chairs will bend under the pressure of an American buttocks. Affecting 158,486 units. Now, unfortunately, they did not get hit with the recall. They say that the firm has received 36 reports of the broken or bent chair legs, resulting in 4 falls and 3 injuries. They say consumers should immediately stop using recalled chairs and bar stools and contact Clark Associates for a full refund to the original payment method or store credit. Consumers should register their product at lancastertableandseating.com/recalls/powder-coated aluminum chairs. They say mark the product with the word recalled in paint or thick permanent marker. It is visible and dispose of the product in accordance with local, state, and federal laws. Now, these are sold at, well, at the price point, they should be darn near bulletproof. These are sold at Clark Pro, Clark National Accounts nationwide, and online at webrestaurant.com. therestaurantstore.com and quicksupply.com from April 2020 through October 2025 for between $55 and $133. And no surprise, they're manufactured in China. Again, they were probably not up to snuff. And it's one of those things where there's a lot of recalls, especially with electronics and things that have, a myriad of components. You have a recall where you have a chair that's supposed to do one thing, and you didn't tense and tensile strength or the actual specs of the product, so it will literally buckle under pressure. That is just ridiculous. Like I say, Clark Associates, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment is a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, everyone. Just stay safe, fight the good fight.